Let's start off by saying, hey, I'm not the greatest speaker in the world. I probably got a slight speech impediment and a little dyslexic, but I still want to express my ideas and don't, marginalize them just because I'm not a good speaker. I'd like to say that the middle class is just incredibly divided by all these wedge issues, and we need to unify around common ground. One is, I think that everyone can see, if you think about it, that globalization and NAFTA was designed not to open up new markets or to create competition or new opportunities. It was designed mainly to get around human rights, worker rights, the environmental protections, and shift the jobs, the industries over to China and increase the profit. I mean, people say, oh, doing that makes the products cheaper so we can afford them. Well, that's a bunch of bullshit, because it's all supply and demand, and it's also the market sets the price. I mean, just because you produce something for $100 less doesn't make it any cheaper. It's what the market will bear. It's what people will pay for it. I mean, a pair of shoes may cost $7 to make, but if you market it right, say Air Jordan or whatever, you sell it for $300 a pair. So all it did was get around the human rights and increase the profits for the shareholders. I mean, sure, all of us have a little bit of money in the stock market, but we're losing a lot more in the fact that our wages are going down, and the value of our labor is less, and they're just thinking of new ways to keep marginalizing us and increasing their profits and power. So anyway, that's one of the main things that bother me. And then you got the illegal immigration. I think we can all agree that we don't really like illegal people. We don't know who they are coming across the border. Again, taking jobs from Americans because they can be exploited because they're illegal. They don't have the same protections we do, or the same right to demand, or the regulations that regulate how workers are treated. They get paid a lot less. And again, they say they're saving us money. Other people say it saves us money, construction and whatnot. But the cost of production is not what dictates the price. It's the market. It's what people will pay. It's the law of supply and demand. And you're still going to pay whatever a house is worth because of the supply and the demand, not because of how much it costs to make. The same thing with workers. If there's a bunch of cheap labor around, it's the law of supply and demand. It makes everybody's labor worth less. So why was it being ignored? All these illegal immigrants being hired by these companies. Well, the traders who hire these people are getting around the laws. They're just hiring people to increase their profit. They're traders. They're enablers. They're causing these desperate people, to come across the border and work here in the United States, steal identities, and live 15 to a house in residential neighborhoods. They're the enablers, and they're traders, and it's all for money. And the reason why this stuff has been going, unchecked is because, well, the people with money and the ruling elite, they're running the country. Why do you think Bush wants to, have some kind of a worker program where people come across? It's because they want the cheap labor. They don't want to pay us. They don't want to have a shortage and have to pay more money. It takes away our earning power. And I think in the end, it's going to hurt them, because the middle class is what, keeps a democracy strong, and is the engine that fuels industry. I mean, if you start taking away our money and we can't buy anything, I mean, what does that do? Supply and demand, right? So demand goes away, the profits go down. Anyway, that's two issues that I feel can unite us. Also is the corruption, the money involved in politics. You know, just one example, okay? It's not the whole ball of wax, you know, the oil companies or the pharmaceutical companies spending billions a year on lobbying Congress. I mean, come on. Why are they spending billions a year to lobby Congress? Because if they didn't, they wouldn't have these favors and these laws being written specifically for them or being voted against by the people they influence. The laws aren't being written for you and I, folks. You know, we vote these people into office, but then they get hammered with all these, you know, parties and invitations to go golfing and promises of relatives being hired by companies, and when they retire from Congress, you're going to have a cushy job. I think we can all agree that that's not right. That the issues should rule what is good or bad for the people. Not who pays that. Not government for the highest bidder. I think these are the things that we should be concentrating on, and then after that we can work on our pet issues. And another thing is, here, I know a lot of you Republicans, you know, you're rabid. You don't, especially the middle class Republicans. Hey, if you're an elitist, I understand why you're a Republican. All right, but you gotta look at what's going on. I bet a lot of you don't know that Bush has signed an agreement with Mexico and Canada, and they're moving towards the North American Union, and we're going to become 3 borderless countries, and we're going to have a new currency called the Amero. How does that work, huh? What happens when we become a borderless country? What happens to our Constitution? What happens when all the Mexicans start crossing the border and working up here? What happens to all of us? What happens to our culture? What happens to workers when there's so much cheap labor around? I mean, are you in favor of that? Do you want to make Mexico the 51st state? Or the 52nd state in Canada? The 51st? I mean, these guys are doing it. They're signing agreements. They're moving towards it. Look it up on the internet. Google it. Look it up on YouTube. There's all kinds of information about this, and I don't think any of us want it. We didn't even know about it. We didn't vote on it. They're not talking about it. They're doing it all kind of secretively. And why? Because they know that it's going to not go down well, and they're trying to pull it over on us, you know, without us knowing about it. So people, those are the things that I think should unify the middle class. Look at it, all of you Republicans, you know, Bush and all the corporate elite and the rich guys all want to do this. So you know, let's unite. Let's not be Republican or Democrat. Let's fight for issues. Let's throw anybody out who's for this North American trade union. Let's get some regulations back into our trade policy. I mean, China's not following any of keeping any of the promises they made. I mean, look at their currency. It's basically fixed. It's supposed to be free floating and going with the market, but no, that's not happening. It's a violation of the trade agreements that we have. Let's start regulating these things. Hey, I understand we can't shut it all down, but let's start slowing it down. Let's start making these changes a lot slower, and let's start examining. I mean, look at what we're getting now. Basically, these things are coming into the United States from China that uninspected, unchecked, until it's too late. Until after all your pets die or your children have the toys in their mouth with the lead paint and whatnot. Let's unite around these things and forget about all the wedge issues. All right. And I'm not a full-fledged Democrat. I'm a middle class crat. Okay. I'm dealing for the middle class, and that's why I'm against Hillary.